100.
Yeah, I mean, people like, I mean, they are Texas people, but don't always come out to Shockwave, or maybe they're busy. Z3's coming up. I know Velta's come up.
Heck
Cheeks is back
Bro.
this week. Cheeks is back.
And of course, the Brown Brothers. The Brown Brothers,
Yes,
Army and Curry,
Army
made
and
their
Curry.
appearance.
Oh, it's so good to have everybody here. And now we're going to start out. It's Ultimate Shockwave 100, so why not revisit some of the greatest hits? If you tuned in pre-quarantine, you might have remembered seeing ESAM and MVD here at times, playing this very matchup. Now Sin and Clue will get to show us another piece of that as we start off the stream here in Wave A pools, because it is big enough to justify pools. We have over 150 people here tonight.
I think, yeah, 70 people per pool. So, yeah, we're going to be in this wave for just a little bit before we get into the other side. While we're here, though, Clue has been setting up these grenades, and Sin, I like how, even though taking some of these CQCs, has not fallen prey to some of the traps.
It's important, I think, in this matchup to be very discerning with when you throw out moves on both sides, because obviously on one hand as Pikachu, you can detonate those grenades and all of your precious loops are gone, but that right there, waiting for those grenades and especially spacing around them is going to be so important.
Pikachu's definitely one of those characters. The spacing is nice. Look at these down tilts and the chase.
Yeah, caught the jump out of the corner, something that most people will do. That's not a Snake exclusive thing, but obviously when you have a disadvantage as bad as him, you really want to try to mix up your opponent, but Sin was ready for it. Great DI in there, knowing that you don't have the double jump height to follow up on that with no platform to help you out. So Clue's still hanging on, but hanging on is what it is at 146.
Okay. Whoa. That's risky. Of course, any regrab is going to be, doesn't mean you don't have to, or that you should avoid it, but definitely some fancy footwork to get back on stage right there is Sin.
Ooh, but a little bit too deep with that back air and up throw, even on Hollow Bastion. Pretty big ceiling, but it is enough to do it. I mean, Pikachu is one of the few characters in this game that just has a lot of options that are like, well, I'll kill you eventually.
Right. If it was going to be the dash attack, I was assuming the up throw. Once again, Clue is charging that down smash, waiting for Sin to be on stage, at least in that area, and both times he's got around very narrowly.
I'm loving the way that he's used the Nikita most of the time, although that one, Sin very intelligently got above the Nikita, now looking for big damage off the down air, but the C4
blew up
automatic!
on its own.
Automatic! Yo.
Plot armor. Is this Naruto?
It's just like what I saw on the Beefy Smash dudes. It was so unfortunate.
Excellent tech from Clue. Obviously, he's reading his tarot cards today, because there's no way I could have seen that, predicted that.
Oh, but I think the early air dodge right there definitely hurt Clue a little bit, that Sin was like, all right, well, now you can't air dodge super close to the ground, can't do it directionally, can't mix me up, so that was a punish right there, and now Sin, I mean, looking for more corner pressure, it's something that you got to respect from Pika.
Okay. Pulled the trigger, had a good idea, but Clue was not in the area, and now Clue on the offensive. I mean, you kind of have to.
And down at 144, but this is a percent where honestly Snake can blow you up. He knew that he had the grenade in hand too. That was so smart to go for that.
He almost stuck his boot in his cranium.
I thought he was about to do it again too. Yeah, a boot to the head. Oh,
excellent timing.
Yeah, that was so good. And then catching the anti-air there too, which is, honestly, I feel like as a Pikachu, if you're going to approach your opponent from the air, I almost feel like, especially against a Snake, like 90% of the time you want to try to throw out a Thunder Jolt when you're on the approach.
Probably, yeah. I mean, in this kind of matchup, especially versus Snake or a zoner with excellent boxing tools, you do have to try out what seems obvious every now and then, just to see what the reaction is.
Well, and especially on Hollow Bastion too, right, where at Pikachu controlling the ground, he's got some of the best ground control in the game with that Thunder Jolt and his quick attack and crazy speed and all that, but making sure that you have control of that center platform, also obviously very important. 3 back airs, 4, mind you, and not going to get anything else past that because Snake can escape those positions. The key for Sin, though, is making sure that that extends further than just that one little edge guard.
And you're speaking about key for sure. While we're entering this last stock, I'm going to think the key is paying attention to how much damage you're getting traded for.
Yeah, especially against Snake.
Exactly. You've killed Clue twice at, 180 plus.
Oh, I love that down throw, waiting for the grenade to detonate and setting up again? That was the up smash.
Yeah, because he hit from the grenade into the...
That was so...
Clue is paying attention to the future. He's not even in the present. He's playing in a different timeline.
That's what you have to do with Snake.
Be from the future.
Set it up, be from the future. Yeah, there's probably something like that.
Clue
in Metal Gear.
2099. I see. I see.
Battlefield 2042, but it's for Clue.
Versus Sin Noir.
Including it being an unfinished game. That's right, I'm coming in with the Clue hot takes. Clue is an unfinished game.
That's how we know.
They needed to give the devs at least another year before they released that. Also, I see T-Lock Tech Chase in the back, playing the round 1 pool.
As we immediately kind of went off of him. Like, there's Chase. Nope, wait,
no more
no
spotlight.
more,
no more. We're back to this match, Sin and Clue, where we saw it was the Snake taking the game 1. And honestly, you know, this is a very even matchup, which is kind of hard to come by against Pikachu sometimes.
Okay, I can see that.
I feel like, so the biggest disadvantage that I feel like Pikachu has is that he's a very light character.
For
he
sure.
can do so many other things.
For sure.
There's almost nothing he can't do, but one of the things he can't do is not get blast zoned early. And that's one of the problems that Clue actually had a little bit early on, but rectified later, and great air dodge out of the Cypher. Perfect bailout time.
See, in this kind of position, I think, which would help Sin in the long run, is being a little bit more, what do I want to say, like feinty? You know, like
yeah.
More bait and punish, trying to get Clue to commit to some of these options. Because obviously Snake is a character who is going to set up continually and make you commit. But if you have the lead, you have at least a bit of control over that.
Well, and what's so good about Snake is obviously when you do commit, he's got a lot of really good counter options because, like you mentioned earlier, those boxing tools are so good. But for Sin, right, making sure that he's in these disadvantageous positions where he doesn't get the leverage of the pace of the game, very important, and that's why picking up those edge guards, making sure that your disadvantage lasts as long as possible against Snake is so important.
Excellent, yes, exactly how you place that. Right, okay, excellent shield patience, and that's exactly the kind of thing I'm talking about. Even though the percentages and the stocks are very similar, the way that you play with that and how patient you are can turn the tide of battle much quicker than you think.
The thing is that while Pikachu is very good at approaching opponents, as he is, I mean, pretty much against anybody, Snake included, right? He's got a lot of tools to do so. The beauty of Pikachu is that you don't have to approach your opponent, especially not a Snake. Oh, you got red?
Boots.
Boots.
Okay.
And this is
Good
exactly what I'd like to see,
right.
yeah. Just backing off and saying, right, Thunder Jolt, take control of the stage. You can set up all your stuff, but why do I have to care about that?
Right, I mean, realistically, you look at the time, you've got 5 minutes to do as much smart, setting up as possible. No need to rush your own demise.
But we got to talk about it on the other end, too. I mean, Clue's been doing such a beautiful job of playing up close against Sin, too. Like, the fact that Pikachu's got the crazy frame data and all the multi-hits and stuff, like, he's not panicking in the face of any of them.
Honestly, I think that's just because Clue is probably a little bit more proficient with that type of gameplay we're talking about than Sin might be right now. You know, we've seen Clue set up and then disengage, set up and disengage, and then bite every now and then when he thinks he's got something.
Yeah. I really like the idea there by Sin, but I think probably forward air would have been smarter. I don't know if the last hit would break the Cypher or break you out, but the down air, again, exactly what I'm talking about. Keep that pressure on when the Snake's off stage, because his disadvantage, aside from the grenades, not very good.
If Sin can force a little bit more of that type of interaction, good patience, then this might be game 3. But, I mean, we got to get through this stock first, and I'm seeing this fall off a little bit quicker than maybe you'd like it.
This is what we've seen past very early on in that game 1, is that Clue has definitely been much more proficient at racking up that early damage. And again, I think that's partially due to the fact that Pikachu's combos are not as tight or not as easy on Snake because of that frame 1 grenade pull.
Now Clue is taking up some stage, trying to end this game. I mean, you see the disengagement coming out right now, too. Ay, ay, ay!
Up smash!
Not the spicy meatball. I wanted mild.
It was particularly spicy.
Yeah,
they drop it on the plate, and you're like, woo!
There's some cayenne on that. I don't know if I want that. Why is it steaming? Why is it,
Why did it physically do damage to me?
It just melts.
That's not what food's supposed to do to you.
HP got taken off because of that joint. Man, excellent play by Clue. Obviously, fantastic setups. Sin, it was right there, right behind him. You can already kind of see even that was our first game, how the mindset of our players kind of works in this Dallas region, especially during Shockwave 100. Everybody is thinking about as efficient play as possible. How can I get this to happen in my favor all the time?
I think especially when you feel like the pressure's on you as a player, you always want to do things like on your terms, right? Where you're like, I've got to dictate, these engagements. I've got to be the one that gets up close and starts doing things, and I've got to make all these big plays. But, again, I think that another part of that mentality is if you can take that pressure off of yourself, because honestly, as a player, most of the pressure that you feel is self-imposed in some way. And if you can find a way to take that off of you, you'll find that it's like a lot easier to wait for your opponent to feel it themselves and feel like they've got to do something.
I agree. As the meta progresses, I believe here in Ultimate, we may see a lot more of that come through. A lot more players being a little bit more comfortable taking their time, maybe taking some stage, maybe disengaging more than they usually would. And that's because they're not in their head anymore. I don't have to do this. I don't have to jump in. I don't have to A, B, C, and D. You know what I'm saying? And that's the only way that you get players to grow stronger. Someone's going to introduce a new strategy, a new type of meta. Other people are going to see it and say, that's corny. I don't want to do that. I don't want to deal with that. But they'll be back every week to try and beat you for it.
Well, that's I think, is something that a lot of people have difficulty coming to terms with, especially when they're like trying to break into that like mid or high level, is that like at the end of the day, you're on a level playing field with your opponent. That's what competition's all about. Your characters are all in the same game. It's sure some characters have more and better tools than the others, but at the end of the day, they've got the tools that they've got. Right? And you've got to just be able to respect, like, all right, if they're doing this thing, right, or if they're playing this way, it doesn't make them inherently a good or a bad player. It's just a thing that they're doing.
Competition hard.
Yeah.
Anything competitive hard.
Very,
Literally
very hard.
anything.
Because
hard.
I think when it comes down to it, it's like you just don't get to control what your opponent does. Right? You can influence it. You can condition them if you're a smart player, if you really know all the tools that you have at your disposal. But at the end of the day, your opponent's going to do what they're going to do, and you don't get to just be like, oh, I wish he'd stop getting out of the range of this move of mine, and then they're just going to magically stop.
Right.
Like, it's basically like, your opponent is going to... It's a competition of, like, who can jump the highest, and you can't control how high your opponent jumps. You can only make sure that you're jumping higher than they do.
Right. And that's why I kind of like Ultimate, there's a lot of complaints over characters and some designs and some certain tools, you know what I'm saying? But I think I like Ultimate the most because, yes, you can't control that other person, and when you realize that, then you start getting better at what you do. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe you do slow the game down a little bit. Sure, do your thing. Maybe you feel more comfortable jumping in immediately. Sure, do your thing. But if it works, then it works. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't have one singular meta. Ultimate is still very, very chaotic.
Any game will evolve, and I think that one of the reasons that we think about, like, Melee, for example, in that way a lot is because people have had 20 years to come to terms with the way
people don't remember slow Melee.
The game is the way it is, right? And you're not going to do yourself any favors by saying, oh, I just wish Fox was slower, or that Shine didn't do, like, it's just a part of the game, and you got to get used to it.
Yeah. No, folks don't remember. I mean, if you're an old head, then, you might remember...
If you played competitive Pong.
A certain grand finals where, who was it? It was either Hungry Box or somebody, or an Armada. It might have been Hungry Box Armada. Someone was playing Young Link. Yeah.
The Puff Young Link get timed out.
Oh, yeah,
Genesis 2.
Thank you. That's what it was. Yeah, folks don't remember that.
And hey, you know what? I remember. I remember that we're playing Smash Ultimate right now, and I think this is a hand warmer. Probably.
I think it was going to be game until M walked over there and said, hey, yo, chill.
Until Hunter said, I'm not set up. You can't start yet.
Tell you what, though, I'm smelling that pizza right now. Even though I just ate,
the pizza is here.
I'm still
I don't know why
good.
I said I wanted to commentate the first wave. Now I'm going to eat, like, warm pizza, not, like, hot pizza.
Not like hot pizza.
I want the hot pizza.
There'll probably be a hot one, you know what I'm saying? Like, if there's so many pizzas here, you don't have to get from the top, like, get one of the other ones.
Yeah, that's fair.
Still.
Dude, I was concerned. I got, like, I had something on me, like, early last week.
You had that thing on you?
I had some kind of, like, sickness or something, and I was terrified that it was COVID. And I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna miss Shock